Hello everyone, welcome to Ajibs Academy. And today we are going to be discussing naming of organic compound. But which naming are we going to talk about today? It's going to be naming of aromatic compound. What are aromatic compounds? Aromatic compound are those compounds that they have sweet smell. And a very good example of aromatic compound is benzene. Please take note. Aromatic compound, they have what? Sweet smell. They have nice aroma. So because they have nice aroma, that's why they are called aromatic compound. Aromatic from the word aroma. And don't worry, we are going to talk about the properties of this aromatic compound. What gives them that sweet smell? What's responsible for that sweet odor that they have? We'll discuss it in our subsequent lecture. So please, if you are here to follow, please follow, like, and hit the subscribe button so that you can get notification whenever we post any new content. So when we talk about benzene, I'm certain that the word benzene is not new to us. Yes, benzene is that compound that looks like this. It has C side. So because it has C side, it has 6 angles. And recollect from our previous lectures, we have said each of these angle it represents what? Carbon. So that means if I ask you, benzene has how many carbon? You tell me it has 6 carbons. And then you see at each of these carbon, each point, we have hydrogen that is attached to each of those points. So if I ask you again that how many hydrogen are inside benzene, you will see it's also what? 6. So benzene contains 6 carbon and so also 6 hydrogen. Does that make sense to you? So what is the molecular formula of benzene? C6H6. Does that make sense to you? Perfect. Then the last thing you need to know about benzene for this stage is that benzene has alternating double bond. If you put a double bond here, you omit this side. You put another double bond here, you omit this side, and you put another double bond here. So you can see that we are alternating in the insertion of the double bond. So that's why we always say that benzene contain alternating double bond. So that is the introduction about benzene. Now let us go ahead, not wasting our time. Let's go ahead to naming of benzene compound. But in order to demystify this one very well, there's a need for us to take it accordingly. And then this is going to be done by the first thing first. The first we are going to do is we are going to go to naming of monosubstituted benzene. Because you know that if I give you a compound like this, if I ask you what's the name, what would you say? Benzene. How about if I change it like this? I just give you a structure like this. What is the name? It is still benzene because it has what? Alternating double bond. So instead of putting hydrogen and carbon, they may decide not to put hydrogen and carbon and just give you a compound like this. What is it? It's benzene. And another way you might be given is they might give you something like this with a range. If they give you like this, what is it? It is still benzene. I want to believe it is clear. Now, you can name any form of benzene that's given to you. Now, let us now go to the derivatives. So the first one we are going to be checking here is monosubstituted benzene. So when we have a benzene to be monosubstituted, how are you going to name? It's quite simple. All you need to do is follow through the course of the class. If there's any question on any issue, remember to always drop your concerns in the what? Chat box. And you can always reach out to us in our social media handles. They are in the description. Now, let us go on. Suppose you have a benzene like this. Recall we said when you have a compound like this with alternating double bond like this, we said it's what? A benzene, right? Perfect. And we said hydrogen is attached to each of these ends. How many hydrogen? Of course, there are 6 hydrogen attached to each of these ends. Now, a questioner might ask you, you might be presenting a question like this. Everyone knows that you can identify this as benzene, but they might give you a compound like this and then put CH3. What have they done here? They have substituted the hydrogen here with what? CH3. So how many hydrogen was substituted here? Only one hydrogen got substituted. So because only one hydrogen got substituted, we call it monosubstituted benzene. Does that make sense to you? Now, if I want to name, how am I going to name? You name by numbering. And how are you going to number there? This is number 1. This is number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I have numbered the carbon now. So you can now see that this prefix, this attachment, where is it attached? It is attached to carbon 1. And what's the name of this attachment? We call it methyl. You are used to this already. Provided you have watched all our previous video, this is not going to be a problem. So If I ask you to name this, how are you going to name? It's of course very simple. You know the name of this compound itself. It is what? Benzene. And this benzene is the parent. So if I want to name this now, I will just say the attachment is attached to carbon 1. So this is 1 methyl benzene. And whenever you have one methyl benzene, you see this one methyl benzene, it has a trivial name. Please take note of that name. The name for it is what? We call it toluene. And some textbooks, some speakers just they decide to pronounce it as toluene. So in case you hear someone saying toluene, it is still the same thing as toluene. And what is toluene? Whenever you have methyl attached to where? Carbon 1. Take note of that. Methyl is attached to carbon 1. You call it what? Toluene, or you call it 1-methyl benzene. Does that make sense to you? Perfect, if it does. Now, let us move to another example. Suppose you have another monosubstituted. Remember, we are dealing with examples about monosubstituted. And what are monosubstituted benzene? A benzene in which one of the hydrogen has been replaced by what? Another attachment. So that is what we call monosubstituted. Now let's take it for example that you have here. What you have here is OH. One of the hydrogen has been replaced. You can decide to put it anywhere. Just remember that it is just one of them. Okay, we can decide that okay, let us remove this one here and put OH here. So if I want to number, where am I going to start numbering from? You start numbering from that function, that attachment. So this one, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Does that make sense to you? Now we have numbers. Now this is benzene, but this benzene has an attachment which is a substitute. It is representing the hydrogen. So here is our substitute. And you know that this one is a functional group, right? Since this one is a functional group, we are going to use what? OL to replace it. At which position? Suffix position. Remember that our functional group is always at suffix position. Which of the suffix? Secondary suffix. We have discussed all that. We have demystified those ones in our previous lessons. So if I want to name this now, how am I going to name? It's quite simple. There's no attachment, no prefix here. So what are you going to say? You just go ahead and say it is what? Benzene. Benzene what? At position 1, we now have OL. And then from our lessons, you should have known that whenever you have this, can cancel this. We said two vowels must not come together. So this becomes what? Benzene 1 all. And this benzene 1 all, you can decide to call it what? Benzenol. You can just add them together because it's at position 1. Suppose it's at position 2, you cannot call it benzene, but it cannot be at position 2 because you know that you start numbering from that functional group. So it will always be at position 1. So this one, you can call it benzenol, like add them together. And then this one has a trivial name. Remember that the one we did up here, what's the trivial name of this one here? We said this is what? Toluene. Now this one also have a trivial name. And what is the trivial name? We call it phenol. So whenever you hear phenol, what does that mean? That means you have a benzene with perfect with OH bond. So whenever you have a benzene with OH bond, you call it what? We call it phenol. All right, let's take another one. For example, suppose you have an attachment like this, NH2. Now, if you have an attachment like this, we have the double bond alternating here to show that it's a benzene. Now, if you have this kind of compound and you are asked to name, how are you going to name? Of course, it's very simple. You start naming from this place, from the point of attachment. And what are you going to call it? Yes, this guy here is called amino. Please take note of that. This attachment here is called amino. So whenever you see NH2, NH2 stands for what? Amino. And this amino is at position what? You start numbering from here, position 1. So you just say 1 amino benzene. And this 1 amino benzene is otherwise called, it has a trivial name. And the trivial name for it is called aniline. Please take note of those things. Remember, whenever you have methyl, what is the trivial name? If there is methyl there, you call it toluene. If you have OH, if you have OH there, what is the trivial name? Phenol. If there is amino there, what is the aniline? I want to believe it is making much more sense now. Let us take another example. We are going to take as many examples as possible so that it's become very clear. Suppose we also have another benzene compound like this. Then suppose here This is the functional group that's attached to it. What is the name of this functional group? Just remember. Yes, oic acid. We call it oic acid. Please remember that in our course of functional group class. So this one is called oic acid. Now, since this one is oic acid, if I want to name, what is it? Oic acid has been, it is attached to benzene compound. You start naming from here. So what is going to be the name? You just call it what? Benzene 1, then oic acid. I want to believe it's clear. Remember, this one can remove this one. So it becomes what? You can remove the E. And when you remove this E here, it becomes what? This. And then because this one is at position 1, you can decide to add them together. So it becomes what? Benzenoic acid. Benzoic acid. Acid. So that's the name of that compound. All right. Let us take another example. All right. Another example you can be given in your exam or in your question. A question can be presented to you like this, and then you might be asked to name. Provided that you really follow through the course of the examples we have given, you should be able to name this. If there is Cl here, how are you going to name? You start numbering from here. And what is Cl? Cl is not a functional group, but rather Cl is what? An attachment. And whenever you have Cl as an attachment, what do you call it? You call it chloro. So I want to name this one now. What is it going to be? The chloro is attached to carbon 1 because you start numbering from that point of attachment. So this one you call it what? 1 chlorobenzene. I want to believe it's making sense. What if you have another chloro here? What's it going to become? It will become 1, 2, then dichlorobenzene. Is it making sense? If I add another one, it's become trichlorobenzene. Another example of monosubstituted is, suppose you have something like this. We are still monosubstituted. And I put Br here. What's it going to be? Of course, you start numbering from this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I want to name this, what's going to become? It's at position 1. So you say 1 bromo, then benzene. So how about if I give you a compound like this and I ask you to name? So name this compound and drop your answer in the comment section. Let's see who is going to get it right and who is going to get it wrong. So here, at this point here, you have iodine attached to it. So what's going to be the answer? Drop your answer in the comment section. Let's see who gets it right and who gets it wrong. Moving on. Now let's go and discuss disubstituted benzene. We have just finished discussing monosubstituted. Now, disubstituted benzene. When you hear the word disubstituted benzene, something must be popping up in your mind. What's the meaning of di? Di means 2. Mono means 1. So here you are removing 2 hydrogen and then you are replacing it with something. So suppose you have a benzene like this. Then you have decided that, remember that we have hydrogen, 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 and hydrogen, right? Hydrogen is here, hydrogen is here, hydrogen is here, hydrogen is here, hydrogen, and hydrogen. Is this one a benzene? No, don't ever make this mistake of calling this a benzene. Reason, because the alternating double bond must be present before you can admit that it's a benzene compound. Now, you remove this hydrogen, then you are removing this hydrogen. What are you now doing? You are replacing it with something. Suppose here you put CH3, which is what? A methyl. And here you are putting CH3, which is also what? A methyl. And then here you are asked to name. How are you going to name it? It's quite simple, right? Perfect. It's quite simple. So to name this one, you number from here. You know that you start from the attachment. Any of the attachment, you can decide to number from here or you number from here. So I'm numbering from here. This is 1. But I cannot go this way. Because if I'm going this way, I will not be able to follow the lowest local truth. So I need to number it this way. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. So after that, we can now see that our attachment, this one is what? Methyl. And it's at position 1. This one is methyl. And this methyl is at position where? Position 2. So if I want to name this now, what are you going to say? Of course, you just say this one can be named as 1, 2 dimethyl what? Benzene. Perfect. Ben, sorry. Benzene. That's the name. And you see this one now, you can now still decide to name it another way. Please look at it. You know that the compound looks like this. Please don't cram this in. Understand it. So that you'll be able to answer any question, irrespective of how your lecturer wants to present the question to you. You'll be able to answer it. So remember that here you have what? CH3. And whenever you have a CH3 at position 1 in a benzene, what is the name? We call it what? Toluene. Do you still remember? Perfect. So now, if this one is toluene, then we are now attaching something here now at this second position. This place, we are attaching something at this second position now, CH3. What are you going to call it now? You can now call it 2-methyl toluene. And that is the answer. Does that make sense? But that means you can say 1,2 dimethylbenzene is the same thing as 2, not 1, no, 2-methyl toluene. And this one, there is now a special name for it. What is the special name? We always call this one orthoxylene. This ortho is spelled like this. So if I ask you, what is orthoxylene? That means you have what? 1,2 dimethylbenzene. Or you can call it what? 2-methyl toluene. Or you can call it orthoxylene. What is orthoxylene? You have methyl at position 1 and position 2. So please take note of that. For orthoxylene, methyl is at position 1 and also position 2. So that is the one you call orthoxylene. Now suppose you have another compound like this. We are still dealing with disubstituted. So you have the methyl here, CH3. Instead of here, because you know that if you put it here, that is orthoxylene. So now let us put it here, the third position. So you have CH3 here. Now if I want to name this, how am I going to name? You start numbering. You can decide to number from here. Position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, 5, and 6. So if I want to name this now, how am I going to name? It's quite simple. What am I going to say? This is going to become 1,3 dimethyl benzene. And this one, you can still decide that you want to name it like this. Remember that you already get the scope. What is the scope? The whole of this compound like this. What is it? It is toluene because this one is at position 1. Do you remember? We have said it earlier when we were doing monosubstituted. So this one is toluene like this. So that means I can decide to name this one. Instead of calling it 1,3 dimethylbenzene, this one can be called 3-methyl toluene. And this 3-methyl toluene, it is called M-xylene. And this M here stands for what? Meta. So whenever you hear meta-xylene or M-xylene, that translates or that's another name for 3-methyl toluene or 1,3 dimethylbenzene. So what is this meta? You use the word meta whenever you have your methyl at position 1 and 3. Remember, if your methyl is at position 1 and 2, you call it what? Ortho. But if it is at position 1 and 3, you call it what? Meta. Is it making sense? Perfect. Now, if it does, now proceed. If it does not make sense, pause the video or go back to the video and rewatch again. It must make sense. Now, let's take another example. Suppose you have another compound like this. Still benzene, alternating double bond. Then here you have CH3. A methyl is attached here. Here you also have CH3. Another methyl is attached here. How are you going to name? Of course, you know the numbering already. Irrespective of how you are numbering, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and this will be 4. Irrespective of how you are taking it. So 6. Now, if I want to name this, how am I going to name? It is 1,4 dimethyl benzene. And this 1,4 dimethylbenzene, how can you call it? Because you know the whole of this compound. What is it? Yes, this one is what? Toluene. So you can just say methyl is attached to what? Toluene at position what? 4. So this becomes 4-methyl toluene. And this 4-methyl toluene, it has a trivial name, and that is called p-xylene. And this p-xylene is what? Paraxylene. M here stands for meta. Please take note of that. M stands for meta, metaxylene. P stands for paraxylene. For those of you that you are Yoruba, you should be able to relate. What does meta mean? Meta means what? 3. That's the meaning of meta. So that means whenever you have it as position 1 and position 3, 1 and 3, that is what? Meta. And then for the other one, the one auto, the one we did up there, remember this one. How would you be able to remember? Just remember this one is at 1 and 2. So if you have methyl at position 1 and 2, how do you spell 2? T-O-W. So if it is 1 and 2, that O, then you say it is what? Auto. Do you get the scope? If it is at 1, what begins the letter 1? O. What ends in the 2? O. If you are spelling 1, you spell it like this, O-N-A. If you want to spell 2, you spell it like this, T-O. So you have O here, you have O here. O is predominant. So this one you call it what? Orthoxylene, or you call it O-xylene. So when you have methyl as position 1 and position 2, you call it what? O-xylene. That is orthoxylene. If you have methyl at position 1 and position 3, you call it what? Metaxylene. And then when you have your methyl at position 1 and position 4, what do you call it? Paraxylene, p-xylene. So this one, if the methyl is at position what? Position 1 and 4. This one is 3. My bad. It's a mistake. So this is 3. I want to believe it is very clear. So now let us quickly do a kind of a memory box. Let's put a memory box here. So what is that memory box? Please take note. Remember this mnemonic. O-M-P. Oh, my people. Oh, my. You can say, oh, my partner. Some people say, oh, my partner. So what does O stands for? Remember that for everything like this one, for everything like this, you are always going to have one. Existing one is there. So this O here, you start with, because there is an existing one. If you want to start numbering, and there is one, what's the next number after one? 2. So this one is for, let me do it this way so that it's going to be clearer. So let's put 1. Everything here, they have 1. So for this O, since there is 1, if you want to write number, what is the next number after 1? 2. So if you have 1, 2, you put O there. That is also. After you have rated to what's this number? 3. So if you have 1, 3, you put what? Meta. And then after 3, what's next number? 4. So if you have 1, 4, you call it what? Para. Do you get the scope? So for O, it is what? 1, 2. For M, my people, or my partner. So M, it is what? 1, 3. And P is what? 1, 4. I want to believe it is very clear. Now, let's go to some other examples that we might be presented with. All right. Suppose you are given this question and you are asked to name. How are you going to name it? It's quite simple. The major thing is your numbering. And how are you going to number here? You number from this OH. Why? Because OH is not just a substituent. OH is a functional group. You give priority to functional group. Remember that. So this OH is a functional group. So we give very much priority to it. So I want to number, I number this way. 1. Then to follow lowest nomenclature, I must give this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Now, how am I going to name this? You can see that this chloro is at position 2. So what am I? And the chloro is attachment. This is chloro, and it's as attachment. So we put it as position 2. So the name is going to be 2-chloro. Chloro what? Because benzene is the parent. So you put ben what? Benzene 1 all. I have already removed the E because of the O here. And remember that this guy here, we already named it earlier. What did we call the name? We call it phenol. Do you still remember? Only this one here, the benz 1 all, it is the same thing as phenol. Do you remember that? Perfect. So that means you can still rename this one as 2-chlorophenol. Because in your exam, you might not see these 2-chlorobenz 1 all there. Or you can say, some people will say 2-chlorobenzenol. You might not see benzenol there. So in the option, it might be 2-chlorophenol, it is still very correct. So any of these three, any of them is correct. Now let's go to another compound. You should be able to name this by yourself. So suppose you have a compound like this, which is benzene. So here you have OH as usual, and then here you have COOH, and then you have your alternating double bond. So if you are asked to name this, how are you going to name? It's quite simple. But remember here, we have two functional groups. OH is a functional group, COOH is a functional group. We've already discussed how to deal with two functional groups. We said whenever you have any compound with two functional groups, how are you going to name it? You give priority. Perfect. In our last video, if you are yet to watch our last video, please watch the previous video before this so that it can make much more sense. Now, if you have two functional group, you give priority, and which one is going to take priority here? This oic acid. So this oic acid is going to be regarded as what? The suffix. And this one is going to be regarded as what? A prefix. That's number one consequence, because you are giving priority to this. The second consequence, as a result of the priority you have given to this, is that you start numbering from this. So this is going to take number one. But you cannot go this way because of lowest local through. So this is going to be number two, number three, four, five, and this becomes the six. So if I want to name now, how am I going to name? Very simple. You know that since this one is prefix, you are not going to call it all. What are you going to call it? You call it hydroxy. So this hydroxyl is at which position? Third position. So this is going to be 3 hydroxy. Hydroxy what? Benzoic acid, or you can just say benzene 1 acid, or you can just call it benzoic acid. It is still the same. Does that make sense to you? If it does, perfect. If it does not make sense, please go back and rewatch it so that it can make much more sense. Remember to like, share, and subscribe so that you can get notification whenever we post any new content. Now let us go to some special cases. Some special cases. I name it special cases because they come in exam as a special question. Now, if you are given a question like this, but for this special case, please take note. It is possible that your benzene becomes a substituent. Like benzene can be regarded as an attachment. Whenever benzene is regarded as an attachment, we call it phenyl. You don't call it benzyl, you call it phenyl. Please take note of that. Whenever benzene is regarded as an attachment, if benzene is not, if it is no longer a parent, but it's now an attachment, a substituent, you are going to call benzene. You regard benzene as what? Phenyl. Do you understand? Okay, let's take questions so that you can understand this better. So this is a benzene with our alternating double bond. Perfect. Now suppose you have attachments like this here. You have CH3. Is this really an attachment? Okay. Then we have COOH. And then here you are asked to name. How are you going to name? This is very simple. You have, look at it. This is functional group that is attached. This is a branch. This is like a branch. But you see this branch, this is a functional group. This branch here is a functional group. So because of that, this branch is going to become our parent chain because of this functional group here. So this is our parent chain. And if this becomes our parent chain, this benzene is going to become what? Perfect. The prefix, the side chain. So this becomes the side chain. And if this is the side chain, we always call the side chain. It is always a prefix. And remember, whenever, if I have already told you up here, whenever you have benzene as a prefix, you call it what? Phenyl. Do you understand? Now let us go ahead and name. But if you want to name, where's our parent chain? This. How are you going to, even though benzene has 6 carbon, because of this functional group, that's why, that is what makes this to become the parent chain. Now, if I want to name, how am I going to name? I start by numbering. This is going to take number 1 because it is what? The functional group. And this is going to take number 2. So that means this phenyl is attached to what? Carbon 2. So you just say 2. Why am I saying 2? Because of this substituent, this attachment is attached to carbon 2. And what's the name of that substituent? We call it what? Phenyl. Why? Because it is benzene, but it has turned to what? A substituent. Now, this one, what's now going to be the full name? 2-phenyl or phenyl, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Maybe phenyl or phenyl. And what is this one? It has 2 carbon. So you call it what? X. X what? Everything here has single bond. So it's going to be what? ANE. But you are not going to put ANE because what is going to come next is what? Oic. 1 oic acid. and that's the name. And if you don't want to call it like this, you can just call it 2-phenyl ethanoic acid. That is very, very correct. So anyway, you can decide to name. You can decide to name it this way, and you can decide to name it this way. But please, before you can turn it to this, ensure that it is one that is here. If it is not one, you cannot turn it to the you cannot call it ethanoic. You need to show that number. But if it is one, you can decide to omit the number. If that one is clear, now try to attempt this question by yourself. You should be able to do it. It's a piece of cake, alternating double bond, and here we have, okay, suppose we have CH2, CH double bond, CH single bond, CH2, and then let's end it here, and this place is CH3. Now if you have a compound like this, should I put, okay, let me end this here so that it will not be too long. If you have a compound like this and you are asked to name, how are you going to name? It's very simple. This is benzene and this is what? A side chain. But you see this side chain is not going to be a side chain. Why? Because of the double bond here. The double bond is a priority. So because of the double bond, you are going to say this one is the parent chain because of the double bond. Remember, what are the things that can make you to call something a parent chain now? Whenever it is benzene compound. Number one thing we have discussed, please look at this place. That's why I said it is a special case. Whenever a benzene is going to become a side chain, whenever you have an attachment that has functional group, whenever there is an attachment that has functional group, benzene is going to become a side chain. Number two case, the second case that can make benzene to become a side chain, or that can make benzene to be a substituent, is whenever you have multiple bond in a branch, multiple bond. So the example we did up there, we have a functional group there, and that was what made this benzene to become the side chain. This one that we want to do here now, it has multiple bond. Here over here is double bond. So because of this double bond, this benzene is going to become what? A substituent. So if I want to name this now, how am I going to name? Of course, it's very simple. I need to start numbering. I can decide to number from here or from here. From which of the places? A. Try to guess. Which one do you think is going to be correct here? Of course, you are correct if you say we are going to number from here. Why? Because of this attachment. Remember that whenever you are numbering, please take note. Whenever you are numbering, you give preference to this your double bond. But look at our double bond here. Is in between. So if you are numbering from here, this is going to be between 2 and 3. If you are numbering from here, it's also going to be between 2 and 3. So that means irrespective of where you are taking your number from, double bond position cannot change. You cannot get a lower number. However, we have an attachment here. So we are going to give priority because of this attachment. We give priority to this side and we start numbering from this end. I want to believe it is clear. So here we say it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now to name now, how are you going to name? You can see that this benzene, which is now phenyl, because it's an attachment, is at position 1. So you can say it is 1 phenyl, Abi, good. Then benzene 2 in. Why did we say 2 in? Because of the double bond is between what? Carbon 2 and carbon 3. And you take 2 in preference to 3 because 2 is smaller than 3. Now take this question and drop your, okay, let me do this for you, then give you one as an assignment. Suppose you have this compound. Sorry, don't mind my diagram, but you still know that it is still benzene, right? Let's suppose I have CH3 here. Sorry, not CH3. Suppose here we have CH2. Maybe I should give you that question up there. CH double bond CH, then CH2, and then OH. Good. If I ask you to name this, how are you going to name? Of course, you know that this is going to be the parent because it has the two cases. It has functional group and there is even double bond. Even if it is just one of them that is there, it's going to be the parent. But of course, it's contained the two. So you know that definitely, without any doubt, there is a parent, and this is going to be the what? The prefix, the substituent. So how are you going to name this now? You know the substituent is at position what? Oh, you want to number from here? Very, very wrong. You don't number from here this time around. Why? Because of the functional group. You give priority to the functional group. So because of the priority, the respect you are giving to the functional group, you start numbering from here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that means the phenyl is now at position 4. So you can say it is 4-phenyl and what? Benzene. You don't end it with en because what will come next is benzene what? 2 in. Why did we say 2 in? Because of the double bond. Double bond is primary suffix. Then we go to the secondary suffix. And what is secondary suffix? On. But hey, sorry, made a mistake. Before we say all, remember that this is going to be what? One all. That is it. Very simple and very straightforward. So I want to believe you can name any compound. So far it is about benzene. You should be able to name any compound. If you understand what you have done, now take this question and then drop your answer in the comment section. Let's see how well you understood what you have done. So you have your alternating double bond here, and then you have a side chain here. So perhaps we should put COOH here. Let's put another attachment here, BR. Now drop your answer to this question in your comment section. Remember to like, share, and follow. Hit the subscribe button if you are yet to subscribe so that you can get notification whenever we post any new content. Don't forget to stay safe. Bye for now. We meet in our next video. Thank you for being part of the class. The name is Ajibs Academy.